All right, we're gonna go with this blue spruce.
Excellent choice. You know, on my tree farm, we sometimes eat the spruce tips straight off these things.
Wait, are you telling me I can eat this Christmas tree?
Certain parts of it, sure. Actually, I take that back. The whole thing's technically non-toxic, so I suppose if somebody did enough research and got a bit creative, they could,
I'm sorry, he gets this way whenever he comes up with an idea for a theory episode. You should just ring us up before he eats your tree.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory, the show that puts weird stuff in its mouth to put weird knowledge into your brain. Theorists, the holidays are almost over, and I don't know about you, but one of the things that's always really sad for me at the end of the season is seeing curbs littered with Christmas trees on garbage day. There's all that Christmas cheer just dead and lifeless, waiting to be carted off to the dump. Welcome to January, y'all! So this year, I wanted to do something about it. I mean, if it's just gonna go to the curb come January, could it actually go into my stomach? No, that's not a joke. Like, if I really wanted to, could I eat my entire Christmas tree? Did this year put me in a weird mental place? Absolutely. Will I apologize for this theory? Not a chance. This is what you get when MatPat starts a food channel, people. Now let's go eat a tree. All right, so let's take a step back. My thought process wasn't quite so random. If you didn't already know, spruce tips, the light green new growth at the end of spruce branches, are used to make all sorts of food products. Spruce tip jellies, spruce tip teas, spruce tip beers, shortbreads, ice creams, syrups, candied spruce tips, and never mind the fact that you can eat them raw straight off the tree in the springtime. Steph and I ordered some to try, and I gotta say, not bad. Do they taste like a forest? You betcha. But surprisingly enough, they also have a really strong citrus taste. This is because spruce trees, as well as plenty of other coniferous trees, happen to be jam-packed with vitamin C, just like citrus fruits. So here's where today's theory is headed, friends. I want to know how far we can take it. Can I eat my entire Christmas tree? And the answer is, yeah, I think so. At the very least, I am about to try. Right off the bat, we need to get one thing straight. Not every kind of tree is non-toxic. Not every kind of evergreen tree is non-toxic. So listen up, because MatPat doesn't want to hear your belly aching about your belly's aching. Don't go munching on needles from your Christmas tree unless you know the exact species of it. I very specifically selected a blue spruce as the Christmas tree for today's experiment. For instance, the ponderosa pine has been known to cause miscarriage in cattle who eat large amounts of the tree. So it's recommended that women who might be pregnant steer clear of consuming ponderosa pine needles and other types of evergreens just to be safe. If you're pregnant, consult your doctor before joining us on our journey of spruce consumption. The common yew and Savin juniper are other examples of evergreens that are known to be toxic to humans. Also, if you're a fan of artificial trees, today's episode isn't gonna really help you out either. Now then, what do we know about the edibility of spruce trees specifically? Quite a bit, as it turns out, and we can thank the indigenous Americans for a lot of that. Many tribes experimented with spruce, pine, and fir trees in their diets since evergreens were a readily available source of vitamin C in the winter months. And that's especially useful info for us because we're specifically interested in eating Christmas trees at that time of year. Sure, spruce tips are the most popular spruce-based food out there, but those are most prevalent in the spring, when new growth is occurring. So what about the tree in late December? What parts of a Christmas tree can a guy like me snack on in the dead of winter between swigs of eggnog and bites of gingerbread? First off, let's talk needles. Whereas spruce tips are the young baby needles, if you will, the vast majority of the needles on a spruce tree in winter are going to be mature, tougher, thicker, and less vibrant in color. Now, the mature needles aren't toxic, but they're certainly a lot less tasty. So if you want to consume mature spruce needles, making a tea out of them is recommended.
All right, so what we'll need for this one is 1 tablespoon of chopped needles. We're going to heat up some water in the background, and then we're going to let it steep for 15 minutes. This is not a spur-of-the-moment cup of tea that we're making.
It is a long brew. This is one of those times, dear viewer at home, that you wish you had smell-o-vision. Because it does actually very much smell like Christmas. I have no idea how this is going to taste. No clue. But if it tastes anything like it smells, it'll be like I just bit a hunk off of a tree, which is what we're going to be doing here in a minute. Fun fact.
We've got the needles in the cup, and we're just going to fill it to literally 1 cup of water and then just leave it alone. This is boiling.
15 minutes later.
Bottoms up.
I've tried a lot of teas in my time. I'm really excited about this.
So good.
Oh, it's not good. There's no way to call this good. And I love all kinds of teas. I am not particularly discriminating. I feel like I'm very open-minded about my tea. Nope, not a chance.
Certainly not.
Not a chance.
Okay, so the mature needles are way less delicious than the spruce tips, but we've technically figured out a way to use the mature needles in our diet, and that's good enough for me. Let's move on to the cones. Now, it turns out that the cones are best to eat when they're young, just like the needles. Same principle. When spruce cones are still immature and green, you can take a bite right out of them, like corn on the cob, kind of like how this guy did after tossing a spruce cone onto the barbecue to soften it up a bit. Now, of course, the new growth cones are more readily available in the spring, so us December tree eaters are going to be more concerned about how to deal with the mature cones. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to take a bite straight out of these guys, but mature cones do contain seeds. You can shake these seeds free of the cones once they've been dried. Now, the seeds are really small and unsubstantial, definitely more of a squirrel-sized treat than a human-sized, but they are an edible part of the cone and go really nicely on salads. Next up is my personal favorite, the resin from the spruce tree. You'll often find resin on parts of the tree that have been cut or damaged, and it's another spruce product that you could just pop straight into your mouth if you like. Doing that gives you something that can be chewed kinda like gum. I mean, how fun is that? Now, unfortunately, our Christmas tree didn't really have any resin on it, but spruce gum is a thing. It's apparently easy to make if you have access to resin. If we're able to get our hands on a resin-laden Christmas tree next year, we'll let you know how it goes. Speaking of things that can be eaten straight off the spruce tree, let's talk bark. The inner bark of the spruce tree has calories and has a soft, spongy texture that makes it easy enough to eat. Now, I'm not talking about the outer bark that you can see when you're looking at the tree in the woods. Right there, that's the good stuff right there. Or at least, that's the moderately edible stuff right there. This is that inner bark. It's nice and soft and squishy.
It's kind of spongy. It feels almost like a mushroom. Ooh, it's kind of sticky, actually.
So this is actually what you can just peel off and eat. Yep, it's tree. It's me eating a tree.
You know, it sort of has the consistency of like a raw coconut. It's very dry. My saliva is just getting sucked right into this stuff. It's like a very big sponge. Oh wow. It's definitely bitter, it's woodsy, but it's mitigated by the fact that you are smelling a lovely bouquet of pine. I think I've had enough of that, maybe.
Are you sure? We have a whole Christmas tree to get through, Steph.
Oh.
All right, so maybe it's not the most delicious part of the tree. And if you eat too much of it, you'll probably get a stomach ache from having too much fiber. But it has calories, and there are ways to prepare it that actually makes spruce bark a pretty high-end delicacy. Certain French cheeses come wrapped in spruce bark, for instance. So let's take stock of all the parts of the spruce tree that we've already covered. Needles, check. Cones, check. The seeds are edible in the winter, and the cone itself is best eaten in the spring. Spruce resin, check. Bark, pseudo check. The inner bark is good to go. The outer bark is, well, it's gonna be more challenging to digest, which means it's time to introduce the catch-all known as spruce beer. Folks, this wondrous, non-alcoholic beer is a very old, very unique fizzy drink that involves fermenting the very essence of spruce trees. Traditional recipes basically utilize every part of the spruce twig. The needles, the cones, the bark, everything. You grind it all up, you add some sugar, you ferment it, and the result is more or less a forest soda. And the taste is intense. Smells like Christmas. Oh, tastes like Christmas too. It is potent. If the spruce tea was not evergreeny enough for you, well, consider washing it down with some spruce beer. Oh, it's so good. It's all so delicious. Take a bite out of Mother Nature with spruce beer. Why? This was such a stupid idea for an episode. It was either this or the fact that fruitcakes actually need 3 years to be properly timed. Why didn't I go with fruitcakes? Why was I like, yeah, let's eat a tree? And with that, we've covered pretty much every part of the tree. Needles, cones, seeds, bark. Wait, what am I missing? Oh yeah, literally the entire rest of the tree. I'm talking, of course, about the actual wood, the xylem, the heartwood. What's a weirdo Christmas tree eater supposed to do with all that? Well, I can assure you from personal experience that it's too hard to chew. It tastes terrible. I mean, sure, it's non-toxic, but it's not exactly what I'd call edible. There's gotta be a way though. We've come so far to get bested by the part of the tree that's, well, basically the entire tree. Well, theorists, what if I told you that I've already eaten wood from a spruce tree, and you have too? What if I told you that the wood is the part of the spruce tree that humans actually consume the most? Folks, it's time we talked about wood pulp. You may know it as the material that's used to make paper, but did you you know that it's also used to make food? And I'm talking all sorts of food. Parmesan cheese, tomato sauce, ice cream. See, wood pulp, which can be found listed on ingredients labels under names like cellulose powder, cellulose gel, and cellulose gum, is a very, very, very common additive in food products. It can be used to affect the texture of foods in useful ways. It can keep Parmesan cheese flakes from clumping together. It can make the texture of ice cream creamier. And sometimes wood pulp is just thrown into there so the manufacturer can brag about the food being high in fiber. And one of the most common pulpwoods out there is, you guessed it, the spruce. So there you have it, theorists. You can indeed eat your entire spruce Christmas tree. And in fact, you may have already gotten yourself a head start without even knowing it. Sure, eating your tree is a bit more complicated than busting out a fork and knife in the middle of your living room. And sure, it's not the most delicious thing you'll ever eat, but with enough patience and food preparation, there's no part of the tree that you couldn't feasibly incorporate into your diet. If you're worried about preparing a Christmas feast this holiday season, don't worry. The feast was sitting in your living room the entire time. But hey, just a theory. A food theory. God, it's so piney. Happy holidays, and thanks for watching Food Theory. Since you're in the spirit of the season,